Hey everybody, it's Jason from Frank's Homestead, and so let's get right into it. The other day I was using my air compressor, have my hose reel, it's mounted up into the ceiling so it drops down, and it just started leaking all over the place. Upon further inspection, I noticed that it's just, the hose is all cracked out. This is about 8-year-old hose. And so I'm going to replace that hose with a brand new one that I picked up along the way. So the only tools I'm going to need to do this job is a little bit larger Phelps screwdriver. I got a little short, stubby Phelps screwdriver. I got some Teflon tape, a couple of adjustable wrenches, and of course the end for the air fitting. The other thing I'm going to need, because this hose here is bigger in diameter than the new one, what I needed, and I went through all my extra parts and I found a reducer. It's a brass fitting reducer, and it's going to be put in this spot here where the hose connects to the hose reel. Okay, so I'm going to start by taking this hose stop off. Make sure you keep this. There's nothing wrong with it. Set that off the side. In order to get this hose disconnected from the hose reel, we need to take all this hose out. So, since it's laying on its side, I'm just going to start pulling it out. Okay, I've pulled it all out. As you can see on the hose right here, there's a little clamp. And on the inside, it's got a little screw there and a nut on the outside. And we need to take that loose. And if I rotate it up a little bit more, on the inside of the hose reel, there's a second one. So you need to remove that on both of them. Take note that this protector, this hose protector, is in between those two. Take that off all the way. Do the same to the other one. Take that off. Set that off to the side. If your hose is in really bad shape, just cut it off. But I plan to save a chunk of this hose because there's a lot of it that is still in good shape. It's mostly where it bends at the ends is where it's all cracked out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this hose through. Now we've got that. Line your hose up with the hole that it's through. Take your adjustable wrench and start turning it. Remember, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. There, just like that, it's off. Okay, now let's reattach the new hose. Like I said, I had to get a reducer, so this is going to get threaded into here, and then my new hose will be threaded into that. Get your Teflon tape. Always do your air fitting connections with Teflon tape. It'll help keep it from leaking. Rotate the Teflon on there clockwise. 3 or 4 loops is all it's going to take. Now I got my tape on the reducer. I'm going to thread that in by hand, get it started. I'm going to tighten it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my new hose. It's got the male threads on it. I'm going to put Teflon on that as well and go the same direction, which is clockwise. So what now I need to do is I put my hose through that hole where it connects. Twist your new line on here. Take your adjustable wrench and start tightening it. Now, got to put those clamps back on. Okay, so put your clamp onto your hose protector or back onto the hose if you went with the same size diameter hose. And once you got your clamps onto your hose protector, put the screw through that clamp where it sticks out the other side. Then put your nut on there. Go ahead and tighten it down. Make sure this is nice and tight so it doesn't come apart. Do the same thing. Take your little screw from the inside, run it through both holes on the clamp, and then put your nut on. Once you got your nut on, once again, tighten it up. Make sure that was good and tight as well. Okay, so my new hose, like I said, also has this stop on it. So I need to take it off before I can move to the next step of winding it on this hose reel. This one's going back on, so I'm not going to hook them back together. Just going to set them off to the side. So leave your hose reel wherever you're working on it. Lay it on its side so it won't fall over. And you can see in the line I've got some twists in this. Well, back here at this end, hold on to it and turn it, and they'll start coming out. You need this hose without any twists in it for the next step. So if you remember, I took off a 25-foot hose and I'm putting on a 50-foot hose, smaller diameter, but this hose reel needs to be tightened up more in order to retract more of this line. So what I need to do is putting pressure on here. I need to keep turning it as far as I can to tighten that spring in there. It's going to get tighter and tighter. Now if you're just going with a standard 25-foot hose, you won't have to do a thing. Just put it back together. So I've gotten this as tight as it will go. Get the other end. Make sure you're following the direction of the arrow. You're going to pull it around and through your roller assembly. Okay, once you've got it through the rollers, straighten out your line one more time. Put your air line inside your track, and then just pull out on your air line and start letting it go in on its own. Put your stop back on. And the last thing to do, put on your air fitting. Put your Teflon tape on, screw your fitting on, tighten it up. Well, and there you go. That's that easy. I recommend though, if you take off a 25, you put on a 25. Take off a 50, put on a 50.